Coming up on Tech News Today, WebOS has gone open source. We got the calendar and HP's plan for it coming up. Also, the next Xbox will be 6 times as powerful as the Xbox 360. That makes us the Xbox 18. I can't do the math. Also, BlizzCon canceled. I'll tell you why next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust. This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, January 25th, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by Ford, featuring voice-activated sync app link. Now you can control select smartphone apps with your voice, so you keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. Check it out in the 2012 Ford Fiesta and at Ford.com/technology. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show where we kick around some tech news every day. Joining us to help make some sense of it all, Mr. Jeff Bakalar, editor of Games and Gear at CNET.com and host of The 404. What's up, Jeff?
How are you guys? Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us.
And for dancing.
A lot of people
Well,
in the chat room were saying, maybe now Tom can finally be on the 404. And I responded, I've been on the 404.
Yes, before there was an internet.
I think it was Randall Bennett era.
Yeah,
404.
that's going back almost 4 years.
As far
but
back as I go.
Wow,
That's
it's
like
tough. Let's dig that up maybe.
That's like calling the New Jersey Devils the Kansas City Scouts. It's like,
and now we're talking.
it's going way back. Let's start off with Open WebOS getting the big announce. HP posting on their blog a schedule for the full WebOS open source release. Now we know exactly where we're going with WebOS. And they're doing it interestingly. They're kind of focusing on developers first. So starting today, the Enyo application framework will be released under an Apache license. That includes Enyo 2.0, which extends the platform beyond just WebOS. You'll be able to write once, publish to Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, as well as iOS and Android. So a nice bone to throw to the developers to say, hey, you know, if you're doing a WebOS app, now you can publish it to other platforms, and you probably want to keep using Enyo to do your publishing, right? Looking at the calendar, February, some UI widgets will be added to Enyo and a JavaScript core, followed by the Linux standard kernel in March. Coming in early April, version 2.0 of the Aries integrated development environment. That gives Enyo a small upgrade at the same time. Another Enyo upgrade coming in July. And then it looks like we'll actually get the full release of Open WebOS 1.0 in September.
It's definitely a better start than when when Palm introduced WebOS. They're like, hey, the SDK, you can wait like 6 or 7 months before we'll actually release it. That was a huge problem for WebOS to start with. So the fact that they're going with this developer-friendly method, you'd hope this would encourage development, although I still kind of am very curious if people will bother to go with WebOS instead of sticking to Android, sticking to iOS, or just sticking to where there's a known user base that's going to grow versus WebOS, which is really kind of, well, it might take off. Maybe it'll be something huge, or it might just be Migo.
But there's something attractive about, I mean, if you compare it to HTML5, and you can build something that will work across lots of different platforms. I mean, if WebOS works the same way, a developer could say to themselves, well, yeah, I mean, iOS has I don't know, better numbers right now, but WebOS might make more sense for me in the long run, depending on the kind of projects that they're working on.
Yeah, and I think this is less about getting people into WebOS, although they want to make that as attractive as possible, and more about saying if you're still in developing WebOS applications, please stay, and we'll make it easy to, you know, cross-publish and all of that sort of thing. Slasker also... Go ahead, Jeff.
I have a place for WebOS in my heart, absolutely. I was one of the 18 people who got a Palm Pre, and I loved it. Every one that I went through that I had to get replaced, even more. And I don't know, have you guys, not to like totally change subject, have you guys noticed Ice Cream Sandwich has a little bit of WebOS in there? With like the swiping away and stuff like that, and the almost the way you can sort of swipe cards away of running apps.
Well, didn't Google hire Matthias Duarte from Palm or something like that? And that's one of the reasons that it got a lot slicker. I mean, Android was kind of, I would say, a little bit more on the engineering side than it was the user side. And then once this guy showed up, 4 is really polished.
There's a little bit of WebOS in Windows Phone, if you want to look at it that way.
Over the People Hub?
Yeah, the People Hub, the cards metaphor, etc., kind of similar to the tiles metaphor. /Gear reports all WebOS devices out there today may be upgraded to a new version of WebOS this year. I mean, obviously, in September, when the new open source comes out, you can upgrade, but they may upgrade you before that. They're looking to see how viable that is. So, HP saying all the right things, saying they're still committed. They have a ton of developers devoted to this, a pretty aggressive time schedule here, but a lot of questions.
Well, if they stick to that whole developer HTML5 system, I mean, I think AT&T just came out with their own HTML5 store so they can kind of unify how you get apps on tablets and on all their different phones. And considering how people really don't care to give Apple a particular cut, like, I mean, was it Financial Times did the workaround? This would be an interesting, I guess, tool to use if you wanted to get around all those ridiculous potential, I guess, money grabs from Apple, from Google, from everywhere. If you had your own HTML5 app, what's the point of bothering to submitting? You could just have it live when you want it instead of worrying about a review process.
As long as people know where to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Xbox will ship to retailers in late October or early November of 2013,
So
the new Xbox, with 6 times the processing power of the Xbox 360. This according to sources that told IGN. This is not an official announcement. It will have a graphics chip from the AMD 6000 line, according to IGN. They speculate it would probably be most similar to the Radeon HD 6670, which supports DirectX 11, multi-display output, 3D, 1080p HD, and the GPU, whatever it is that they want to put in the next Xbox, will head to manufacturers by the end of 2012. Developers are likely to receive development kits based on the system's final configuration this August. And then Kotaku jumping on it, saying, and the new Xbox is also going to have Blu-ray discs. And reliable industry sources say it may incorporate some sort of anti-used game system, as well as all of the Kinect 2 rumors we've been hearing about. They say, yeah, it's going to get an onboard processor in the Kinect that would enable better motion detection. Jeff, any of this stuff excite you?
A little bit. I mean, I guess this is the first sort of report that I've read that seems a lot more specific. Everything else has been like, oh, 2014, throwing out these arbitrary dates. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like the way consoles are evolving and the way gaming is evolving, people don't really care as much about the specs of a console and more about the functionality. The multiple display out, that to me is intriguing. What is that going to be used for? Can I hook up 2 televisions to an Xbox? In what capacity is that going to be used?
Could I do some kind of Wii second screen behavior, but would I'd have to plug it in? I don't know. That's weird.
What does anti-used game system mean?
Well, that's been percolating around for a long time. Yeah, exactly.
That's what that means.
That means that there'd be some system they'd build in for developers to program a game so it could only be used the first time you put it in the Xbox, and that's it.
So that means what the games would be calling home, well, theoretically, the game would be calling home to check, hey, has this code been used before with this particular Xbox, or some kind of workaround, I'd imagine, maybe with an ID. Because I'm trying to figure out, if you change Xboxes, there has to be a way to continue to use your own games.
Because if you've bought them both.
Yeah, that seems like...
Or what if a friend gives you theirs because they don't want it anymore?
It's anti-consumer, man. I hate that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lose-lose situation for the consumer, in my opinion. I feel like these sort of initiatives, these anti-use games, things that they've tried to do before, I mean, it's almost more. It's not worth the effort, in my opinion, when it comes down to it. If I'm a developer, and obviously those developers are not making these decisions, but I want as many people to play my game as possible, and this just puts a huge roadblock in getting that exposure. But yeah, I mean, do you guys agree with the whole specs thing? I think people just want bigger and better graphics. The
3D, 1080p HD. I like that.
Yeah, but I would hope that's a default spec on this new system. Sure. When you say 6 times better than current generation, okay, can you really put that on paper and understand what we can expect with that?
Well, that's the thing, right? With consoles, because you know exactly what graphics card you're programming for, you can wrench every last bit of performance out of it. So it isn't as much of an issue as it is in PC games.
I think for consumers, I mean, they don't really care. I mean, the thing about what made the Wii a success was the gameplay, that kind of thing.
Right.
And the thing is, if this Xbox can compete or make the PS3 look like garbage, and if they were looking at some really fast renders and things look like animated movies instead of it looking like, oh, that's pretty close. Like, I know when I started looking at sports games, and I would just stop in a window of a video game store going, is that a real game? Oh, no, that's a video game. So, I mean, it's getting close. So if you can get to photorealistic things, that's what I think people will notice. They're not going to care that this graphics the graphics card is way better than this old thing from 2003.
And 1080p doesn't blow me away. You're right, Jeff. I mean, that's sort of expected. If it would 4K, that would blow me away. But
Yeah,
we're
it's
not
almost
gonna do
like
that.
it better have 1080p. I mean, it better do all these things. And I'm still not sold on this time frame of late October, early November of 2013. I think E3 this year might shed some more light on all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. You know, Wii U is sort of like the thing we have to pay attention to right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Xbox is what? It's 8 years old now? I mean,
2005.
People have been talking 10-year product cycles, 8 years.
So 7 years.
It'll be 8 years in 2013.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, isn't this the time? Maybe Microsoft, I mean, they had the 1 year leap on PS3. Maybe what Sony's been saying has gotten to them. They're saying, look, we're not going to have any announcements about the PS4. Maybe Microsoft just wants to jump the gun. I mean, the way they've been integrating all their systems between Windows Phone, Windows 8, and their Xbox makes a lot of sense. Even the multi-output on the Xbox 720 just kind of suggests to me that they're kind of playing towards like PC gamers a little bit more, going, hey, look, why not? You can use this with your multiple displays.
I also don't care, but that's why I don't care about Blu-ray discs in the thing. I mean, I guess that's kind of nice. I do use my PS3 as my Blu-ray player, but I want a 3 terabyte freaking hard drive in there so I can just download games. I don't want to have to go buy physical media if I don't.
I almost even look at Blu-ray as almost a sort of handicap.
Yeah.
Especially with what has gone on with the PS3 and the amount of games that require 20-minute installs just because that Blu-ray drive only spins at a certain speed is sort of a huge pain. But yeah, I'm definitely thinking that things like Kinect, things like PlayStation Move were designed specifically, whether or not they'll admit it, to lengthen the life of these consoles. Like you said, the new Metro initiative that's going across all platforms, why shake things up now?
Like you said, Jeff, we'll find out at E3. I'm sure Microsoft will have an announcement about the next Xbox. If they don't, then we know all of these rumors are crap because they're not going to go without announcing it at E3 if it's going to have a developer's kit coming in August. Let's got some other gaming news here. Blizzard announcing, first of all, the BattleNet World Championships, which will premiere somewhere in Asia at the end of the year. But that means no BlizzCon in 2012. Blizzard says they're going to focus on StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm, Diablo 3, which is due out any moment, and World of Warcraft Mist of Pandaria. And therefore, they will not be doing another BlizzCon until 2013.
It's a little strange. What have they been doing this whole? I mean, they've been seeming to get away doing it all these other years. Now, all of a sudden, it's this big to-do, and they can't.
They've put out 6 BlizzCons since 2006. They skipped one in 2007, I think. But
yeah, we've got how to multitask now.
They were putting out big titles every year back then.
Well, last year they had fewer attendance than the year before.
But I think they sold fewer tickets. I mean, those tickets sell out in a heartbeat. They could fill that convention center.
Okay, well,
I think that's on purpose.
Okay, well, maybe it's by choice. I don't know. But they say that it's because they're focused on these games that are highly anticipated, people are really excited about. Okay, well, there's certainly some people power that has to go into that. But if they really wanted to put on a conference and a place for a bunch of people to meet in real life, they could, especially if they're making a profit. But maybe it has to do with the fact that they want to put more emphasis on these World Cyber Games that are somewhere else in Japan, right? And they don't really have anything that's new and exciting that they think will bring people, and maybe they have some reason to believe that attendance would decline.
Well, didn't Blizzard just lose a producer for Diablo 3? And so maybe they just want to take some of that money that they had for this con and just really, if they're take them at their word, just throw money at the problem. Flat out, hire enough people, get this stuff out on time, not on time, but quickly, because they want to probably capitalize on this, because the release cycle for Blizzard, Tom, you were telling me about this, that it's not exactly quick. And they don't make they don't say hard dates until they're really ready. So maybe they just want to get stuff out at certain time periods. And the other thing is they were bought out a couple of years ago. I think it was Activision bought Vivendi, which owned Blizzard. So maybe it's partly a different corporate influence at this point.
No,
It's years
Blizzard's
ago,
very self-contained within Activision.
Yeah.
You can try to blame Activision. There's not that dog doesn't hunt very well. Mike Morhaime is pretty much in control of Blizzard. I think that they decided they wanted to do this competition. They got really excited about spending a lot of money. They've been doing competitions. They've been doing the Blizzard Cup at BlizzCon in conjunction with MLG, GSL, World Cyber Games, and they decided, you know what? That's where the money is. That's where the excitement is. Let's do one in Asia. Let's do one either near Korea or maybe do one in China. But if we do that, we can't afford to do BlizzCon. So maybe we just sort of tell people, you know what? No BlizzCon till 2013. We'll get to that. See how this goes. If the competition goes well in Asia, then maybe they're able to figure out how to do both, because they always lose money on BlizzCon. They do it as sort of a marketing effort to get people excited.
I need to do a quick correction of myself. The chat room is making sure that I know that it was a merger, not an acquisition. Thank you, Scott Johnson.
Yeah, we should. I don't know why. I'm so stupid. I should have called Scott Johnson and said, Scott, tell us why. Host of the instance. He's dying in the chat room.
He actually said that.
Yeah.
I am dying.
He said he's dying in there.
Don't die, Scott.
Please don't die. Then we'll never be able to ask you.
Tom, you're right. I think the way they sort of chalk up BlizzCon is this interactive commercial, and it's all about return on investment, right? They got to go where the money's at. I feel like this. It's not just BlizzCon. I mean, as opposed to huge conventions like E3 and CES. I don't know. I think a lot of people are maybe, warming up to the fact that maybe this isn't the greatest way to spend, $1.5 million or whatever it is to put on something like this. A lot of people are dropping out of CES, we're hearing. E3 loses.
Yeah, right. That is sort of the trend, isn't it?
Every year. Almost, they're dropping like flies, essentially. Maybe that's the new trend now.
Maybe they're just having a bye year. They did that once, and they came back, and everybody still came again to the conference.
I do think, too, that they probably are looking at this and not seeing it from the perspective that all the fans of Blizzard are, which is like, this is our big, Christmas time. They're looking at it on a balance sheet and realizing, oh, okay, we can skip a year. I mean, Blizzard doesn't look at things in short term, right? They look at things in long term. That's why it takes so long between StarCraft and StarCraft 2. They're like the clock of the long now poster children. So it's a blink of an eye to them to skip one of these BlizzCons. And I don't know if they're necessarily worried about saving a bunch of money here necessarily. I don't get the feeling it's that. I think they're just I don't know. They may be missing an opportunity. And I'm thinking back what you said, Jeff. Mists of Pandaria universally reviled by everyone who wasn't at BlizzCon. Like, freaking pandas, are you kidding me? But everybody who was at BlizzCon, who played the game, saw the demos, was like, this is great. I love pandas. So I don't know. And I don't know. This means, I tell you what this means. Their new project, Titan, not coming out until not getting any info on that till 2013.
Oh, forget it.
Yeah. Because they would definitely be having a BlizzCon. So, I don't know what you're going to do on the instance, Scott, because you're going to have nothing to talk about till 2013 now. Actually, tune in. You want to find out all the ways we were wrong. Listen to the instance this weekend when they talk about it. Those guys know what they're talking about. All right, let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Ford, makers of Ford Sync App Link, enabling you to control select apps from your smartphone with simple voice commands. So you're driving along and you say, oh, you know what, I want to listen to Pandora, but I didn't set it up before I started driving. Now it would be dangerous to pick up my phone. You can keep your eyes on the road, your hands on the wheel, you press the paddle, or you push the button and you say, launch Pandora. Sync App Link gives you the ability to do that. And then you can create channels, you can play channels, you can skip songs, you can thumb up, thumb down, anything you want that Pandora does. You do it with your voice. You keep driving safely. And there's other apps in the development as well. OpenBeak is one that can read you your Twitter feed. They've got an API platform that allows Ford to continue to work with developers in the app community to bring apps to life with their vehicles. So go check it out. Voice-activated sync app link available in the 2012 Ford Fiesta. And you can learn more about Ford Tech and app link at ford.com/technology. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. O2 Network in the UK, oops, revealed your phone number to every website you visited from January 10th until yesterday.
How did that happen?
Or actually today. Bug in the O2 network. They said they were doing some routine network maintenance and accidentally turned off the part of the router that removes your phone number before a request goes out on the open internet. Register has a good story about this, actually. Most mobile networks work this way. Everything you do inside their network has your SIM card information attached to the request. That's so they can do things like give you billing if you go and you download a ringtone or buy something within their store, etc. When you go out on the open internet from that system, then they remove that. Now, when you're using Wi-Fi, it doesn't work that way. When you're using Wi-Fi, it's just a normal request like you would have on any browser. So what happened is they forgot, they messed up the part that takes the phone number away, and every website out there was getting your phone number. A lot of people in the UK really upset about this. Lewis Peckover, system administrator for a mobile gaming company, flagged the issue on Tuesday, created a JavaScript so you could see your phone number show up on a website when you came there on your mobile phone. And now the Information Commissioner's Office is looking into it. O2 has also contacted Ofcom, the telecoms regulator, about this. How bad is this? I mean, will any misuse really come out of this? I mean, if I'm a customer of O2, I'm pretty upset that my phone number just got broadcast out to every website. But how many websites are going to go and actually do something with this, do you think?
I mean, the thing is, it's just a phone number, so theoretically you could get it.
It's personally identifiable information, though.
Yeah, but O2 says it's not associated with anything else. So, I mean, maybe you get some spam phone calls. That's annoying, but it's not necessarily, cause for alarm.
If it's exploited to do like spam texts and it's costing people money to that, then I would think there'd be a backlash. But I mean, it's not like there's not a direct, loss of information like credit card information. That usually freaks people out. Your phone number, I think people are a little bit more lax on that. But again, it's how this shakes out over the next couple of weeks. This has been open for what, 2 weeks? So that's a long time.
15 days, yeah.
Well, and then we'll talk about it a little bit later in the show, but the European Commission is actually, there are some changes to 27 countries in the European Union, one of which is to have more stringent rules against companies for not telling people immediately when there is a privacy breach. Now, O2 is saying, listen, we didn't even know what was going on. It's not as if we've just voluntarily...
Which almost makes it worse.
Right, yeah. I mean, they didn't voluntarily say, let's just not tell anybody until the last possible second.
At least that's what they say.
At least that's what they say. But it does make things a little bit gray going forward. Is the European Commission going to say, well, you know what? You should have known on January 11th, and you should have told everybody.
Slap on the head.
Oh, wait. They're telling me that they don't pay to receive text in the UK. So I guess look out for text scams then instead.
Yeah. They don't pay for anything there. What would have happened if...
Yeah, it's basically free to live in Europe.
It's free internet. What would have happened if that happened with, I don't know, Verizon or something like that? I feel like there would be a much bigger freak out. I feel like in our country, the privacy issues of the day are much more confusing. And I don't know, maybe I'm just, I have too much, weird experience with people here in New York about privacy and stuff. But how do you guys think that would be handled on our side of the pond?
I think it'd probably be about the same, which is the customers freak out and demand that something be done. Verizon apologizes, fix it, patches it as soon as possible. By the way, O2 has patched it. So, they fixed it quick. And then I don't know what federal agency would start looking into it, maybe the FTC.
You'd see so many Congress people saying, I want to know the extent of this privacy breach. And we'd see
absolutely.
Ed Markey. We'd see him every 5 minutes. He's always freaking out about any little change.
Or Al Franken.
Yeah, one of these. Yeah, exactly. So that's how it would be. That's how it would play out here.
Yeah,
we just know the
pretty much
suspects.
Let's talk about something that's a little more fun. Zynga just came out with a new game called Dream Heights.
I think it's going to be a winner.
Yeah, I think it's only available in Canada. Interestingly, a company named Nimblebit makes a little game called Tiny Tower, one game of the year.
Heard of it.
In the iOS store.
Yeah.
I was addicted to it for a while myself. Seems very similar to Dream Heights, and both of them sort of in the tradition of Sim Tower, so it's not like it's the first time this kind of game's been done. However, Nimblebit's David Marsh posted on Twitter,
Ian Marsh.
Even when you've refused to, no, it was David Marsh posted, even when you refuse to go work for Zynga, sometimes you end up working for Zynga anyway. Then Ian Marsh, who is one of the co-founders, responded, they did go the honest route and try to acquire us first. And then Ian Marsh went and posted a link to a greeting card sort of congratulations to Zynga, which shows screenshots side by side of their tiny tower and Zynga's Dream Heights. And they are almost exactly the same game. I mean, this isn't inspired by, this isn't like, oh, they're both doing tower games. Same mechanics, same way of building, same way of buying elevators that get you up faster. I mean, if you go through this, it's, other than a different style of graphics, note for note.
Good use of the word inspire, because in the little greeting card it says, good luck with your game. We are looking forward to inspiring you with our future games. And they made a point to say, you know, dear Zynga, all 2,789 of you. And they signed it from Nimblebit, sincerely, all 3 of us.
Well, okay, so let me liken this to some other instance where a company has tried to buy a smaller company. Okay, so Google tried to buy Flipboard, right?
Okay.
Last year.
Sure.
And Flipboard said, nah, we're good. We don't want you to acquire us. We've got a solid business model. We want to stay indie. And Google has since come out with what you could consider a Flipboard competitor type thing. This happens all the time with companies. They want to acquire the company that they think is valuable. If it doesn't happen, they build some sort of a clone. But when it comes to games, because there's so much design involved, this almost seems closer to me like Apple saying, hey, Samsung, your tablet looks too much like our tablet. How dare you? We're suing you.
Well, this isn't the first time Zynga's gotten in trouble for this. TLC, which owns the Oregon Trail, sued Zynga last year over Frontierville. And TLC had approached Zynga, hey, do you guys want to work together? We're working on a Facebook game. And then that deal fell apart. And then mysteriously, this game, Frontierville, looked a lot like Oregon Trail, and there was I really don't know how the lawsuit shaked out. I have to look at that. But they've been accused of just ripping off people before. So, I mean, I've seen this kind of stuff in even in law school, like a Pac-Man deal fell apart. And if the game is sufficiently different, it's okay. But the thing is, what is sufficiently different? It's going to be an interesting argument.
It's this weird sort of subjective language. I feel like I've seen copyright infringement lawsuits settled over less. I mean, this is honestly, I saw this huge, I guess, infographic, if you want to call it, on Reddit like a week ago. I feel like they have a great case, and the exposure that it's getting would sort of maybe lend itself to someone coming out and wanting to represent these guys. I mean, is that an option? And why is it that it's okay for a company to come out and say, okay, we want to acquire you guys. You guys are doing great stuff. Okay, you're not going to do that. We're going to make the same exact game. It's sort of like, why even try and acquire them? Is that just like save face? I don't understand.
Well, you try to acquire them, then you have those nice discussions about some interesting secrets that you know about your games. You explain like, hey, I will lay out to you how what difficulties we had.
Theoretically, you sign an NDA there,
right? That's the thing. Like, you get to learn some information that you probably wouldn't get normally. So when you do the acquisition talks, this is what I've seen. And if this was the case, they would see pretty much whatever Nimblebit wanted to tell them, right?
So is Nimblebit not suing because they're just so small?
Oh, why aren't they suing? That's interesting. I mean, the thing is, I think you were telling me their game is similar to another game anyway, Sim Tower. Right?
Well, yeah, they're both tower games.
Yeah, so the thing is,
they're not nearly as similar to Sim Tower as Dream Heights is to Sim or
but it's like,
Tiny Tower.
So you're suggesting that maybe they went through acquisition talks with Zynga not having any intention on acquiring anybody. Like maybe they lowballed them enough so that they knew that the deal would fall through,
well,
but then they walk away with information?
Well, if that was the case, then there's a real basis for a lawsuit there.
Yeah.
The thing is, this is all speculation. I have no idea what actually happened in the talks. So, I mean,
but these things do happen, is what you're saying.
That's bad faith, flat out. If they said that, oh, yeah, we just wanted to get these secrets, and then we're going to say, forget the deal.
I think Zynga probably said, this company Nimblebit has this extremely popular game, Tiny Tower, and we can buy them. We can afford it.
Yeah.
And then we've got that talent, and they can make us other great games. And when they couldn't get that, they said, all right, well, let's make a slightly crappier. I don't even know if it's crappier because I haven't played either one. A slightly different game that everyone's going to say is a ripoff, but still going to make us the same amount or like a little bit less money or potentially more.
Well, good luck, Nimblebit.
Yeah.
I hope you feel your honor has been defended
So what's the lesson learned here, though?
Yeah,
when a big developer comes in and when a big publisher comes out and tries to acquire your small development team, you
always say yes.
Yes, yeah, sure.
You say yes.
I'm down. Let's do it. Let's sign the check.
Right. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I wonder how successful Dream Heights is going to be, really, because Tiny Tower has had its day. It's not like it's getting more popular. So Zynga coming out with Dream Heights, that's not really going to suddenly ruin the market for tower games. I mean, there's so many Bejeweled ripoffs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Are there Zynga faithfuls that will just download everything Zynga puts out?
I suppose that's possible. Yeah.
Yes.
Finally, in 2010, the Library of Congress provided us an exemption to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, the DMCA, that allows us to jailbreak our phones. So jailbreaking for iPhones, but unlocking your phone and rooting your phone in Android parlance. That is going to expire unless the Library of Congress grants it again, unless they renew it. The EFF is asking the U.S. Copyright Office to renew that exemption and expand it to cover tablets, so you have the right to jailbreak a tablet. And they're also asking for a new exemption to allow rooting and jailbreaking of video game consoles. If you are someone who thinks that they would like this to be your right under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, you're going to have to make your voice heard. The Copyright Office needs to have justification for making these exemptions, which means they need to hear from people who are in the business of using these exemptions. So write up your story at the website for the Copyright Office. It's copyright.gov/1201/comment-forms. There'll be a link in our show notes. There's also a link at EFF.org. And let them know that you're a tinkerer, you're an independent software developer, you're someone who lives in an area without service, you need to unlock, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can submit your comments online at that link. You can get more instructions at EFF.org, but you have until February 10th to make those kinds of justifications. Jeff, would you make that kind of justification? Are you somebody who needs to be having the right to jailbreak or root your tablet, your game console?
Me personally, I don't do that anymore. But
you don't do it any less, do you?
I don't do. You can infer what you will with that. I think if you own a product, you should be allowed to do whatever you want with it. And the door swings both ways. Yeah, that opens up the door for piracy and stuff like that. But I think it also opens the door for innovation and people learning how to develop and really, learn a lot. So, with the game console stuff, what went on with PS3 last year, I mean, would this sort of nullify all that? Would it just be okay? It's interesting. But I do think, I firmly believe that once you own a product, game console, iPhone, iPad, whatever it is, and you want to be able to do whatever you can or want with the device, it's yours. You own it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real issue is that you don't want to turn somebody into a criminal because they were messing with their PS3, even though that the Sony EULA will probably mean that you were under warranty or something. You're probably not using their terms, so they have the right to bust your device.
There might be some other way in which they could stop you from doing this.
From using things, but you don't want to be.
But that might be in violation of the law then if you have an exemption, couldn't it?
Well, I mean, the thing is they don't have to cover you under warranty. They probably won't go out of their way to bust your device.
They couldn't try to throw you in jail.
Right, so if you jailbroke your iPhone, you try to bring it into service, you violate
the right to jailbreak it, but we have the right to say we're not going to fix it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And there's no reason to be a crook or criminal or have criminal charges against you if you decide to add software to your device.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the news fuse. Hey, that Facebook IPO is coming. The trading of Facebook shares on secondary markets has been frozen through Friday, according to reports by Bloomberg and the New York Times. It's a move that might point to Facebook's impending initial public offering. There could be some other reasons why they're doing it. Facebook officials haven't commented on the reports, but the expected IPO could be worth up to $10 billion, putting the company's value at more than $100 billion.
Oh, that's not very much.
Nah.
What a disappointment. A potential one.
Yeah.
Boy, Genius Report has grabbed another roadmap. They just keep falling off trucks or something. This time,
convenience
it's
stores.
from AT&T. So you should expect the Nokia Lumia 900 on March 18th for $100. Paul Thurrott also reported that day as the release weeks ago. Boy, Genius Report says the price is subject to change because it hasn't received technical acceptance.
On to the rumor mill. This is next generation smartphone edition, actually. 9 to 5 Mac reports that a source from Foxconn says the iPhone 5 is nearing production and will have a 4+ inch display, so it might be larger than 4 inches, but it won't look like the iPhone 4 or 4S. The final form factor is still up in the air. There's several models floating around. It could drop in the summer, apparently. Meanwhile, Elder Murtazen, you know him, he's always full of Nokia rumors, this time says that the Samsung Galaxy S3 is coming in April with a 12-megapixel camera and a quad-core processor running at 1.5 to 1.6 gigahertz.
But that's not all the Samsung rumors. Speaking to Laptop Magazine, Samsung product managing manager, because that's the best kind of manager, Ryan Biden, let some details slip about future Galaxy tabs. He says you can expect gesture support and pens. Biden said, I think a pen interface continues to make a lot of sense across a number of screen sizes, like the larger is more obvious of those. Now, I guess that's a leak more than a rumor, but Samsung has yet to either fire Biden or confirm what he just said.
And now, time for Patent Wars. Motorola is going on the offensive by suing Apple over several patents that could impact the iPhone 4S and iCloud. The patents cover a method and apparatus for communicating summarized data and multiple pager status synchronization, among other things. Ars Technica's Jackie Chang believes this relates to iCloud's ability to sync data wirelessly. Motorola already has 2 other lawsuits against Apple going on right now. If you were curious about Apple's current battles with Samsung, the Korea Herald created a handy-dandy map. Yeah, look at that. They're fighting worldwide.
Lots of text, lots of different areas. That just shows you how ridiculous.
What a beautiful infographic.
By the way,
less map and more just text.
Ryan Biden is marketing manager. There was
he was a something ing manager. I was sure of it.
Something ing.
Facebook COO Sheryl Sandberg responded to privacy regulation changes by the European Commission that restrict the ways internet companies gather, use, and retain volumes of personal user data. Speaking at the Digital Life Design Conference in Munich, Sandberg emphasized the danger of laws stifling businesses like Facebook's. Quote, we want to make sure we have a regulatory environment that promotes innovation and economic growth. This is really serious stuff. This is about growth. This is about jobs.
So in other words, let us keep the data because we're hiring.
Andrew Shepard created a map to show where T-Mobile would get a boost from the proposed transfer of spectrum from AT&T. T-Mobile would gain lots of coverage in major markets like San Francisco, Washington, D.C., San Antonio, Atlanta, and more. As a condition of the failed merger, AT&T is to transfer $1 billion worth of spectrum to T-Mobile. The transfer itself is still subject to government approval.
And now, everybody's favorite mega upload founder, Kim.com, was denied bail by a New Zealand court. The judge ruled that .com was a flight risk and specifically mentioned .com's possession of an illegal firearm when arrested as an indication that .com has a level of criminality which could easily extend to exploiting criminal connections to obtain false travel documents. .com will be in custody until his extradition hearing on February 22nd.
Some of the stories about .com, flight risk might mean that he actually, physically modified his arms to be wings.
Invisible helicopter. Could happen.
On to Netflix. Netflix's fourth quarter numbers are in, and they're not terrible. Earnings of 73 cents per share and revenue of $876 million beat Wall Street estimates. I guess the estimates were really down. But Netflix also ended the year with 24.4 million U.S. subscribers. That's up 25% from last year and up from last quarter's 23.79 million subs. Have subscribers forgiven Netflix for a rough 2011? Maybe it's the beginning of a truce?
Or just short-term memory loss. Let's move on to the randomizer.
Randomizer.
NASA's 64-megapixel photo of Earth is out.
Check out all those megapixels.
Does it look like 64
Check it
megapixels
out.
to you? Just looks like a picture to me.
I'm still loading up.
It's the most amazing high-definition image of Earth ever.
Look at how beautiful Baja is.
Look,
right
I can
there.
zoom all the way in and it doesn't get blurry.
Well,
Oh, wait a minute. Actually.
are you looking at the 64 megapixel
No,
image?
It was
I'm
taken
not.
from the VIRS instrument aboard NASA's most recently launched Earth-observing satellite, the Suomi NPP. It was a composite image using a number of swaths of the Earth's surface taken on January 4th of this year. The NPP satellite was renamed Suomi, S-U-O-M-I, NPP, on January 24th to honor the late Werner E. Suomi of the University of Wisconsin.
It's still downloading.
And it's still beautiful, even while it's downloading.
Who needs to go to space when you have 64 megapixel photos?
This is a lot cheaper than going to space, quite honestly, and a lot less risk.
is.
And if you have a weak heart,
But you don't go weightless. So,
you just jump in the air.
I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it.
yeah.
Let's move on to the calendar.
All right. Why not? Let's do that. That's what you want. Nokia's made some announcements ahead of its earnings report tomorrow. First announcement, 1.5 billion sales of Series 40 feature phones. Announcement 2, hey, Nokia has a buyer for that plant in Romania that they closed down in November of 2011. It's
me.
Italian housewares maker.
Oh, never mind.
The name's escaping me. And they've recasted their quarterly results for the 3 quarters preceding tomorrow's earnings report, which probably means they're going to try to make tomorrow's numbers look as attractive as possible.
That would make sense.
So there's that. Extradition request for Mega Upload founder Kim.com will be filed on February 22nd. And wanted to remind everybody that Macworld starts tomorrow. If you're not going to be there, you can at least watch us. We'll be streaming live from the floor. Leo and I will be on the floor starting about 12:30 Pacific time tomorrow. But Macworld runs through Saturday.
Jeff, do you have any odds on whether Kim.com gets extradited or not?
No, I don't have odds. I don't know how. When did he change his name to .com? That's what I'm interested in.
He legally changed it. I'm not sure exactly when. It was sometime in the past 10 years.
He's like this amazing internet villain, and I think it's amazing that he just the way Mega Upload has been spun lately is like this evil pirate dump for everyone to just leech off and get pirated software and content or whatever.
He's the Al Capone of copyright infringement. Yeah.
And like he's got almost got that like super villain name too, like the Kim.com. Yeah, it's just like blowing me away that he's like this infamous character now on the internet. And I mean the odds of him being extradited, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. Yeah, part of the reason he was determined a flight risk is because of the illegal firearms he was carrying. So just
he's got guns.
Adds to the
You've
legend.
got guns. You're going to fly away.
Right.
There's a rocket ship.
You can shoot. Yeah, anyway. Let's check what's incoming.
Incoming message.
Sam in New Jersey writes in and says, hey, I love the show. Listen to your discussion of cell phone subsidies in TNT 422. Since I also prefer to buy my phones unlocked, I was interested. But I think the main reason that unlocked phones haven't taken off in the U.S. is that there's no real financial incentive for the consumer. With very few exceptions, T-Mobile's Even More Plus plan, postpaid plans will not give a monthly discount for bringing your own equipment. I think that there are enough people who would be willing to spend an extra $200 up front if that allowed them to save $10 a month for 2 years. The problem is that such a pricing structure would go a long way towards making the carriers into dumb pipes, which none of the major carriers seem to want. I think that's a good summary of the issue. I wish they would move to that idea of like, hey, bring your own phone, cheaper plan.
I mean, like, I'm trying to think of landlines the way it was. You used to rent your phone. You used to have to pay a monthly fee. And then you could buy your own phone eventually. But they didn't give you a discount because you had your own device.
Because you brought your own phone,
They're just like,
Well,
you know what?
But you didn't have to pay the rental fee.
That's true.
AOL used to do something like that. You brought your own internet service, remember? Before when, if you didn't have to dial up into one of their things, they're like, all right, you have your own internet already, fine. We'll, chop off a piece of the subscription price and you have a lower rate.
Oh, that's right. There was that story where they were making a ton of money from people who didn't know they could do that.
Exactly. They just neglected to tell people, and everyone was still paying for it when they didn't have to. It was the AOL way.
All right, next email from David Broadbeck, Associate Professor and Chair of the Department of Psychology at Algoma University. He says, Salut les amis. Salute. You guys were discussing the notion that course credit could be gained through iTunes U or something similar. While my lectures are not available on iTunes U per se, they are available on iTunes as a straight-up podcast. I've had people, if they meet the requirements, listen to archives of my classes, old lectures, etc. All of the notes are available as well.
Lectures, not lectures. Just making sure.
I was just going to breeze by that, one missing C, and all of a sudden everything changes.
I didn't want to implicate Dave in something.
Old lectures. All of the notes are available as well. I've sent them writing assignments that they've completed. They were then given a grade, etc. We're doing this here at Algoma University, go Thunderbirds, on a case-by-case basis, and frankly, on a me-by-me basis. However, I've had great success with it. Of course, these people paid tuition to the school. I think this makes perfect sense. I'm actually not paying anything to this French podcast that I've been listening to, but I'm absolutely learning from it. I think it's a great way to teach people of all ages on a regular basis.
I mean, to use a podcast in place of a class, I mean, that'd be nice in general, but this thing seems to work because this professor wants this to work. It'd be nice to see this implemented in, like, I wouldn't say every university, but...
I don't think he's the only one who does this, though. I mean, I think there's a lot of folks.
I think a lot of people catch up with classes that way. It just seems like what the original story was, the idea of Apple trying to get credits for iTunes University classes. So this seems like a minor step towards that direction.
Well, this is, I mean, Apple could go into some sort of official, if you complete this and prove that you, I don't know, read this book or took these tests, then you actually get college course. I think what David is saying is, or it's on them to keep up.
Yeah.
And if they pass my test, then they learn.
And they pay the tuition. Don't forget that part.
Right, yes.
That's an important part. I do think it could get to a point where you pay the tuition at the completion of the class. Like, oh, okay, you've completed the class, you did a great job. You want credit? $1,000. Thank you.
That's what you're paying for anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's it for this episode of Tech News Today. Thanks to everybody who submits at our Reddit. TechNewsToday.reddit.com is our subreddit. You can go there and see what other folks like, submit your own stories, and vote for things that you want us to talk about. That Tiny Tower was our top vote-getter story today, and it helps us decide what we're going to cover each day on Tech News Today. Jeff Bakalar, so great to have you along today, man. Let folks know about the 404, where they can find it, and all the other stuff you do online.
We're live every day, Monday through Friday at 12 noon, and that's at cnet.com/live. I'm also starting a new comic on CNET called Low Latency. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's really
very
cool.
tech-inspired. Having a lot of fun with that. That comes out every Thursday at 11 Eastern. And so definitely, and that's living on Crave. That's crave.cnet.com. So check that out. We'll have a new one up tomorrow dealing with mega upload and the fallout.
Awesome. Wow, I got to check that out. It's low latency?
It's called Low Latency. Yeah.
Nice.
Load latency.
I'll check it out.
Low, like low. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff Bakalar. Good luck to your New Jersey Devils. And thanks to everybody else for watching Tech News Today. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. You can email us. Our email address is tnt@twit.tv. And give us a call. Leave us a voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. Patrick Beja from France joins us tomorrow. We'll see you then.